Yeah, eat, sleep, fantasy, you rockin' with the best. NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. We talking mock drafts, running backs, better follow the conversation with
John,
Dale, Christian, and Armando. Screaming Eat Nation, we doing what we like. Tune in every week, guarantee we get it hype. Fantasy, football enthusiasts, I know you plan to be joining us on Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Yeah, Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Eat, Sleep, Fantasy.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. This is your Sunday edition, or Monday edition, with Clayton. What's up, Clayton?
What's going on?
I guess you're with Armando as well. Sorry, I didn't introduce myself.
But before we get crazy here, do you have any names that you want to discuss beforehand to try to, so there's no mistakes happening in this episode?
Let me think. Cortland Sutton, is that correct?
Oh, Jesus.
Aaron Rodgers? Oh, Rodgers just scored a touchdown. We'll be fine. It'll be fine. Just tell me to fuck off if I mispronounce something, okay?
You got it. Let's get going, man. I'm excited to talk some football.
Yeah. Before we move on, I want to say that where can we find you, Clayton?
I'm on Twitter at Cadu Clayton, at CADIEUX Clayton.
And
stupid Twitter handle, but I haven't figured out a new one yet.
That's okay, Clayton. Everyone still believes in you. Everyone believes in you. It's okay. And you can find me at Thunder Crestwell. You can follow us at Eat Sleep Fantasy, Eat Sleep FF. And the first game we're going to talk about, we're actually going to go back all the way to Thursday night, and it was 49ers versus the Cardinals. The Cardinals actually made this a ball game, which is super surprising because they fucking suck. But let's just talk about really the two things that matter is Kenyon Drake is a good running back, and the Dolphins are idiots for not giving him the ball. He had 15 carries for 110 yards and a touchdown. He's the only reason why they were in the game.
Oh, he dominated. I thought he wasn't going to do anything. I own a lot of Drake in quite a few leagues that I am in, and wanted no part of him this week just because of how the San Fran D's been looking, and of course he blows up. So moving forward, I'm not sure what are you going to do moving forward though with him with word that DJ is supposed to be back next week. What's your take on that?
Well, if you kind of saw how things were flowing before. David Johnson and Chase Edmonds were, carrying the rock together. Chase Edmonds was kind of like running the ball more, and DJ was kind of catching the ball more. So I imagine it's going to be something similar. I still imagine DJ is going to outsnap him and outcarry him, but I imagine Drake being involved more in the passing game, next week at least. Who knows? I really don't know what's going to happen when Chase Edmonds returns. I imagine that they're just going to straight up bench Drake at that point. But yeah, I think it's going to be, Drake's going to be the pass catcher and maybe a change of pace running back, and then DJ's going to be, I don't know. I really don't fucking know.
I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that Arizona, depending on how bad this injury is that he does have, like they're not going anywhere this year. Why don't you give him a few games off and just let Drake carry the load till Edmonds comes back?
I guess
that's what I would do. I thought when they signed him, or traded for him, I thought for sure DJ was going or was going to go on the IR for sure. But maybe they have other plans, I guess. Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with that offense. I mean, I think I'm going to hold steadfast if you own DJ. He's coming back next week, and he's top 10 running back. I think if you have Kenyon Drake, I think you got to hold on to him or trade high. One of the two. You're not
absolutely.
Maybe trade high. I don't think his value can go any higher. This was one of his best games of his career.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to flip him this week for sure.
Yeah. Let's move over to, I guess the receivers. There isn't lot to talk about. I mean, Kirk returned. He was mediocre. Everyone else on the receiving team was pretty mediocre. So I guess Drake's right now the only interesting player. On the 49ers side, Emmanuel Sanders carried the load this week. Him and Kittle. Kittle kind of got banged up this game, but he played through it. But Emmanuel Sanders just looks sensational. He made Garoppolo had his best game of his career, and it was because of Emmanuel Sanders.
Sanders is legit. He showed it even when he was in Denver playing with and also mediocre quarterback, right? And Flacco, he was still producing numbers.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect him to come in his second game in and destroy like he did. And I'm going to try to buy buy him actually where I can.
It's going to be tough. I mean, he had a great game, and I don't think it's going to be necessarily sustainable. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders has a history of exploding onto the scene and then fading away. So I personally think
they have nobody in this passing game that's doing anything outside of Kittle, right? So
yeah, I mean, I still think Pettis could be something. Samuel's good. I mean, he just needs not to drop a goddamn ball in the end zone. Like, I think it just takes this team just needs a little more time. The receivers need a little more time to grow the fuck up. And Sanders is going to help them get there. I
definitely think next year this receiving core is going to be stacked for sure after having these young guys getting another year under their belt. But I guess we'll see. What about the running game? We saw Breida and Coleman almost split
50-50.
Split snaps equally,
Yeah.
And I mean Breida looked like the much more explosive back.
He looked
I thought
really
in this
good.
one.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing about this.
And he was injured coming into it too. So
I think Breida is the better back. I don't know. I'd never bought into Tevin Coleman. I mean, there's always that flash in the pan where he just goes off against a good matchup, and great. But personally, next time Tevin Coleman has a big game, I think you got to trade him away. I don't think he's necessarily a good back. I think Breida's a much better running back than he is, and better in the passing game as well. I am not a Tevin Coleman believer. I'm on the Breida train personally.
What's your take if I was to go after the Breida owner and try to trade Drake for him?
I would definitely take Breida over Drake in a heartbeat. I think that's a good. I mean, I think the work that Breida is getting is sustainable versus Drake. We know his is going to fade away, and I think that's a very plausible, realistic trade to do. And I would be, if you can pull that off, you should tweet that, because whoever did that is a fucking idiot.
He's probably the league is with a bunch of kids, so we'll see what happens.
You're an asshole.
yeah. Just take complete advantage of these trades on these guys.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Colts and the Steelers. Before we dive deep into this game, I just want to say Brissett left this game with a knee sprain. So if you own Brissett, you fucking probably lost. But the Steelers did win this game, and I guess the interesting thing on the Colts side was Paris Campbell. Do you think I'm crazy to talk about Paris Campbell? It's interesting to see him that involved in the run game and in the passing game.
Yeah. That was weird, but I don't know, man. Zach Pascal, the last 3 weeks now, he's produced solid numbers, and I don't know. I'm starting to buy in a little bit on him. If you look at his last 3 games, I mean, last week he didn't do anything. But 2 games ago, 6 for 106, 2 touchdowns. He's got 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games, and over almost 200 yards in the last 3 games. So, I don't know. I think I would rather own Zach Pascal right now.
Oh, for
to be
sure.
honest with you,
yeah.
Instead of Paris Campbell. I thought Paris Campbell was going to be the guy with having Hilton out for this game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And if Pascal's available, just so everyone knows, there's a rumor going around that T.Y. Hilton could be out from 3 to 6 weeks. I don't know how accurate that is. But, Pascal, as long as T.Y. Hilton is out, I think Pascal is wide receiver 2 going forward. I don't think that's too unrealistic to say. Until T.Y. Hilton comes back, I think he's just droppable at that point. But as long as T.Y. Hilton's out, I think that's where he is. And Paris Campbell is flex-worthy, wide receiver 4 at best right now. But as he's go ahead.
Absolutely. And the thing is, though, is now as far as Brian Hoyer goes, Brian Hoyer is what he's always done, right?
Yeah.
Just slings the ball.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried about this offense moving forward if he is behind center.
No,
to be honest,
not at all. I am worried about their playoff chances. They are they're gonna fade possibly if this continues. Losing point. I think Hoyer. I don't know if he's worth the waiver wire ad or anything like that. But he's definitely.
Well, there's another 4 teams on bye this week.
Yeah.
Coming up,
So if you're desperate, he's not
very good. Yeah.
And in SFB, if you're in that thing, he's definitely worth the pickup. So on the Steelers side, before we dive too far into the Steelers, Dante Moncrief was released going into this game, so this kind of opened the game up to everyone else. I think the interesting thing is Trey Edmonds out-carried Jalen Samuels, but Samuels was the more productive back because of the receiving game. 13 targets, 13 receptions for 73 yards. That is crazy.
And when I did look at this, I just kind of figured out when Connor was in and how they were using Samuels. I don't think Samuels is a 3-down back.
No, I mean last season, just so history lesson, he was listed as a tight end before the season started, and like midway through they had to switch it over because he was going to be carrying the rock. So he's a great pass catcher, and that's something to note. We'll see what happens with Trey Edmonds. I'm not sure if he's going to make our waiver wire column. Clayton does this column, but I think we'll keep track of Snell and Connor. Both are out this week, and I think Trey Edmonds is going to fall way behind those guys once one of those two returns.
I'm pretty sure, depending on what. Yeah, I'll have to do a little bit more research tonight before I dive into my article.
Yeah.
But I'll have to see. I believe Snell's going to be out for a few weeks. I read.
Yeah.
So it's all going to depend on like you said. Both Connor and Snell, depending on the extent of their injuries and so on and so forth. So we'll have to see about that. Stay tuned. Check out the article Tuesday morning.
Yeah, and before we move on past this game, James Washington was, out of the receivers, the most productive. He had 4 for 69. It's probably his best game of the season so far. Smith-Schuster looks not very good. So we'll see how this James Washington thing progresses. Like, we know that Mason Rudolph and James Washington have a history, so that's going to be interesting to see.
And Deontay Johnson, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I bought into him in a few leagues. I think that's just a flash in the pan for that guy. I'm not holding my breath on him.
Yeah, no, I'm on board. I think dynasty-wise, he's great. I think he's going to be fantastic in that version, but like standard, PPR, redraft leagues, cut him. So let's move on to the Eagles and the Bears. The Eagles won this game, and I think the most interesting thing, there's a lot of interesting things about this. Zach Ertz looked like old Zach Ertz, which is fantastic to see. He had 103 yards and a touchdown, which was amazing. Also,
but
Jordan
how
Howard,
bad is this? How bad is this receiving game when you're using you're targeting your tight ends 16 times between the two of them? They got targeted.
What's interesting, like, this is Zach Ertz's best game, and this is also the game that Deshaun Jackson came back. Deshaun Jackson was irrelevant, 1 for 5. But like, I don't know if that's part of it. Like, did they open up for Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert? But both things happened at the same time. Ertz became a fantasy football relevant, and Deshaun Jackson's back. So that's interesting,
Yeah, and I think moving forward, I think you can still play both of these guys, and I said that last week as well. I'm confident and holding Goddard or Goddard, whatever the hell his name is. You're supposed to fix that for me.
Goddard. Let's just go with Goddard. Just call him Goddard. Dallas. Dallas, he won't fuck that up.
Yeah. But I'm holding steady with him because he's getting targets every single game. And I mean, you can't, if Wentz is going to be using his tight ends this much, I think he's definitely worth, solid flex play, even if you needed to, right?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And on the running game, I think this is like the third game in a row or fourth game in a row that Jordan Howard has been extremely relevant. The Bears are not good against the run. I do think that maybe Jordan Howard might be fantasy relevant.
He's the number one guy, I think, there. I think Sanders is going to be the pass catching back, and Howard's just been way too productive. If you look back at his last 4 games, you go 49 yards, 50 yards, 96, 82, 2 touchdowns in the last 2 games, and 5 in the last 6.
Yeah,
5 touchdowns in the last 6 games. So
if you can get your hands on Jordan Howard, I would. I think he's going to kind of slow down for the next couple of weeks, but that fantasy football playoff schedule is fan-fucking-tastic. If I can get my hands on any of those running backs, Howard or Sanders, I think you're going to win and definitely be relevant in the fantasy football playoffs. On the Bears side, Montgomery continues to be relevant. 2 touchdowns, 14 carries, 40 yards, and he's involved in the passing game. Cohen, I think, is worth a drop at this point. He's not relevant anymore.
Well, do you want him in Dynasty? Do you want him back, Armando?
Nah, fuck that dude. I'm done, man. I'm telling you. That's why I said it out loud. I don't want his ass. You keep him, man.
But I agree. Montgomery is the guy there. They are starting to use him a lot, like Nagy said he was going to before last game.
Yeah.
So it is good that he is seeing the snaps, and he's pretty much the only guy, the 3-down back in this offense. So, and Trubisky's garbage, absolute garbage.
Yep. Don't disagree with that. This is against an Eagles defense that is supposed to be terrible against pass, and he got nothing going. They were in this ballgame because of the defense, but yeah, he is droppable in all formats, including SFB, which I own him in. Are you interested in Goddard in our Dynasty League? Because I have Travis Kelce, and I don't have a lot of use for Goddard.
Possibly. We'll talk. We could talk off air. As long as you're not going to offer me junk, and you're not going to expect like Gordon or somebody. You're after Gordon.
No. I mean, obviously, I want your running backs, and I'll package him. But if you're interested in him, I'll package him in a deal somehow. Obviously, I'm after running backs or draft picks at this point because I need to buy running backs. Okay, doesn't matter, everyone. No one cares about me. Miami Dolphins destroyed the New York Jets. Fitzpatrick looked like Fitzmagic again. It's kind of sad because Preston Williams did leave this game with an injury. He had his best game of his career, 5 for 72 and 2 touchdowns. And Geiske also had his. Did I say that right? Geiske.
Gesicki. We suck. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Fuck you.
What
Clayton.
is it? Mike Gesicki? I don't know. One of those ones. Okay, we both fucked that up. Whatever is what it is. Yeah. Sorry, Dale. Not really, but sorry.
He's fine. So Gesicki had 6 receptions for 95 yards. I don't know what to make of this. It could be just a game plan flow, but it's good to see both those guys do well. Devontae Parker, I think, is pretty much, if there's anything wrong with Preston Williams, I think Parker's the only guy worth owning. I've dropped Walton. I know he's carrying the work, but he's not doing anything. He's not putting yards up. But yeah, drop him if you can.
And it's well, the Jets run D is pretty decent, so I wouldn't. I would hold steady for now.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, he's on the block if you want him, Clayton. He's all yours.
Yeah.
So on the Jets side, this was extremely, really fucking depressing to watch. Le'Veon Bell continue to do nothing in fantasy football. 8 for 55 receiving. He was fine, but against the Miami Dolphins, you'd think he'd get at least 20 points. You know what I mean? In fantasy football, he didn't do enough. It's nerve wracking.
The numbers are there though. At least as far as he's still over 100 total yards, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess depending on, no touchdown. That is disappointing for him.
Yeah, you'd expect a big game from him against the Dolphins. Obviously, the Jets it's a throwaway season at this point. Le'Veon Bell is an RB2 going forward, and his schedule's great, but this was the best matchup he could have had, and he did nothing with it. So, just expect him to be an RB2 going forward and be okay with that. I mean, he's fine. He'll get you points in PPR, but standard, you should be expecting at least, 10 to 12 every week and nothing more than that. Do you agree with all that, Clayton?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're good.
So let's move on to the Chiefs and the Vikings. And, the Chiefs won this game somehow. This is great for, the Lions if they win their game today. Matt Moore looks like a competent quarterback. I don't know. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say about this game. They don't win this game if the Vikings can tackle. Like that 91-yard touchdown by Damian Williams, where that guy, he ran right into that guy. The guy couldn't wrap him up, and then he just continued to go. So they don't win this game with that touchdown being scored. So as far as that goes, I wouldn't. I mean, I think Minnesota was the better team today. But that 91-yard touchdown really screwed him. And did you see it or no?
No, I didn't see it.
You didn't see a touchdown? So he breaks this and he's running and he's fast, right? And all of a sudden Tyreek Hill comes sprinting behind him, catches him, and he's like, just in case he has to make a block on somebody, it was hilarious. You got to look at it. I can't believe how fast Tyreek Hill is. He was 10 steps behind him and he caught him.
That's crazy.
It was pretty sweet. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, it made his fantasy day relevant. So I guess the most interesting thing on the let's go with the Vikings first. Thielen did leave this game. He re-injured his hamstring, which is, we don't know too much about it right now, but that is not good. We'd expect him to miss next week as well, just because of that. We don't want him to continue to get injured, so I'm guessing they're going to hold him for a bit. Stephon Diggs did absolutely nothing.
They shouldn't have put him out there this week, anyways.
No, they fucked up. They definitely fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. You got to give these guys, especially a guy like his caliber of a player, like you got to give him a few weeks off, not just a couple. Like, make sure this guy's 100% before you put him back out there.
Yeah, they definitely fucked up on that end. So hopefully it's not a serious injury, but I don't imagine he's playing next week or the week after that. Like, if they want to make a run at the playoffs, they need this guy healthy, because clearly they can't beat a backup quarterback. That's not good. What's really surprising, Laquan Treadwell was their top receiver in this game. So better days are ahead for Dalvin Cook, and better days are ahead for Stephon Diggs. Maybe a buy low going forward, but that's something to note.
Yep.
Let's just move on to this game, because there's been a lot to talk about the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes might come back next week, so there isn't a lot to note besides LaShawn McCoy sucks.
I think McCoy sucks. I think Damian Williams is the guy to own in this run game, regardless of yes, I understand that 91 yards out of that 125 that he did have, but you just got to look at how many carries he did have. He was double-digit carries to McCoy's 3.
Yeah.
So, and then in passing game, he was, he caught a couple passes in that as well. So I think he's the back to own in this. I mean, you still have to keep McCoy around, but as far as that goes, I just temper your expectations with McCoy moving forward.
Definitely agree with you on that one. So let's move on to the Panthers and the Titans. The Panthers pretty much demolished the Titans in this game, like really bad. They did not look like they had a chance in this game. They were up by like 30-7 pretty early. So McCaffrey continues to be a monster. DJ Moore continues to be the best wide receiver on that team. 10 targets. He had his first 100-yard game this week, which is awesome to see. Curtis Samuels is boomer bust. On the Titans side, you tell me if I'm wrong, I'm kind of worried about Derrick Henry. I know he's been fine, but he was saved by a touchdown this week.
He was saved by a touchdown, but at one point he only carried the ball like twice. At one point, because I remember my kids turns around, he's like, "Dad, is Henry hurt?" And I'm like, "I don't think so." But they were also down a shit ton of points, right? So that's why I think you saw Dion Lewis. I mean, he had 5 receptions for 33 yards in this one. So
his best game of the season, which is sad.
Yeah, and he's such a talented back too, right? Which I don't understand why they don't play these guys differently. Like, look at how they're running. Like, Green Bay uses, Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams and stuff like that, right? Why doesn't Vrabel take some lessons from that and stop trying to rely on Henry for absolutely everything?
Yeah, I 100% don't disagree with you. The Titans are hanging on by a thread to the playoff hunt, so we'll see how this team progresses. And if Ryan Tannehill continues to be the quarterback over there, but he is 100 times better than Marcus Mariota. There is no reason why they should move away from him. He had 2 interceptions, but he's mobile. He had 4 for 38 and touchdown on the ground, which is awesome. So, I think Tannehill's in two quarterback leagues. He's definitely relevant, and that's about it. And a decent bye week fill-in for matchup purposes. Let's move on to the Bills and the Redskins. This was the coming out party for Devin Singletary.
Yeah.
He didn't have a huge game, but...
No. But 20 carries, man. He did double the load that Gore did, so I mean, definitely is the guy that you want to own in this. Do you think Gore's droppable though now?
He is borderline droppable. I mean, depends on your. I mean, there's still a lot of bye weeks coming up, and they run the ball enough where he might be relevant. But at this point, I think he's I would say 90% droppable in most formats, unless you're super desperate like I am. In most leagues for running backs, Frank Gore is droppable. I mean, literally, just so everyone knows, my starting running backs and stuff is Ronald Jones, Mark Walton, and it's not necessarily pretty, but I have good receivers in all my leagues. I don't know why I did that to myself this year, but there has not been any injuries in running back world this year, and that sucks for me. So Devin Singletary is the biggest thing to note. On the Redskins side, Haskins looked better than he usually does, which is, good for everyone around him. Peterson looked great. I mean, 18 carries for 108 yards. That's great, Go ahead.
He's legit, and I think he's startable week to week now. It doesn't even matter matchup because, I mean, the Bills are a good, tough running defense and against the run, and he trashed them today.
Yeah, no, he definitely did.
6 yards per carry against a team like that, so that's you kind of got to move forward.
I think having
100-yard game. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think having Haskins back there, being a mobile quarterback, really helps Peterson. Now that he's starting, I think it's going to definitely open up the hole a little more for Peterson.
Yeah, I agree with that.
What do you think is going to happen when Juice comes back, or Geis? I think Juice sounds better. I don't know.
You fixed it. You caught it before me. I don't know. As far as I think, the Redskins are junk, right? They're not going anywhere. I don't know why you would even want to run Geis out, to be honest with you. So you have to run with the old guy like Peterson. I don't think you can maybe get Geis in for a few carries, but I have a feeling he's so injury prone. I would give him the rest of the year to just get back to health. You know what I mean?
That's what you would do. Clearly, the Redskins do not care about their players or their health.
No.
So I imagine
hear about that story about fucking.
Yeah, they are pieces
Yeah.
They're pieces of shit. Like I'm sorry, like fuck you, Redskins. Sorry to all the fans out there, but Jesus, treat people like human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I imagine Geis is going to go out there. They're going to bench Peterson, and they're going to run him to the ground just like they did RG3.
Well, I hope not, in all honesty, because Peterson deserves it. So we'll see what happens. That's what, week 11 he's due back, correct?
Yep, right around the corner.
For Geis? Yeah.
So let's move on to our London game. Deshaun Watson and the Texans demolished Minshew and the Jaguars. They absolutely made him look like a joke. I'm a Texans fan.
They look good.
I didn't think they were going to look this good. I had to be game plan because, God, Jaguars had nothing going at all the entire game.
Carlos Hyde fucking looked legit. I mean, I can't believe he did have a huge 60-yard run for a touchdown and got to the 1 yard line, and great defensive play by Jacksonville. Came by, knocked the ball out of his hand. So I think he probably regretted that, but I mean, his 19 carries for 160 yards, where's this guy been? It's his backfield moving forward. I think Duke Johnson, though, he looked just as good. I thought I mean, he looked like that's who he is, right?
Yeah, I think it's nice to see that he's getting involved. I think he's way more explosive than Fells and Atkins, and I think having him as a dump-off target is a much more intelligent way to play football, if that makes sense. He should be their dump-off guy, and he should continue to be involved in the passing game. He is 100 times better than those guys in the open field. So he's relevant in PPR and PPR only. So that's my take on that. I am getting more and more worried about Deshaun Hopkins. He's doing enough to keep him relevant.
I just think they're taking him right out because they know that he doesn't have an elite. Teams know that Watson doesn't have another elite pass catcher on this team, right? Kenny Stills caught all 4 of his targets for 52 yards yesterday. But what happened to where's Kiki Kuti? Where's he at? He hasn't even caught a pass in 2 games.
No,
he's not out. He's active.
Yeah,
why aren't you using more of him out of the slot to open up the game a little bit?
Well, there's rumors that he's in the doghouse right now, and Carter has overtaken him in the depth chart. So that is the rumors right now. He did not receive a target or reception this game. So I think Kuti is 100% droppable besides dynasty formats. And Carter isn't relevant just yet with 1 target and 8 yards. But yeah, it's Kenny Stills and Deshaun Hopkins right now, and that's about it.
DeAndre Hopkins.
What did I say? Deshaun Hopkins?
You did say that.
What's wrong with me? What the fuck is wrong with you, Armando? Get the fuck out of here. So let's move on to our 4:00 games. We
got to talk about the Jags. You got to talk about the Jags. We didn't talk about them yet.
All right. We brought up Keelan Cole last week a little bit because we knew that Westbrook was injured, and we knew that there was another guy who was injured. It doesn't really matter. Who's the other guy that got injured?
Marquise Lee.
Yeah, Marquise Lee. He's on IR.
Yeah.
So we talked all about Keelan Cole, and he looked like he did the most with his targets. Conley did out-target him, but he did the most with him this game. I don't think. What are your thoughts on Cole? Is he relevant in any way?
I think I want to see it for one more week, but I'm starting to think that teams now have tape on Chark, and we're starting to see he was still targeted 9 times in this one, but only 4 catches. So I think teams got tape on him now, and I don't think you're going to see that sustainability move forward that he has had the last 4 or 5 weeks. I think he's going to be still, the targets will be there, but the receptions not sure. And what happens with, I personally think that Minshew, they're going to bench. Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be Foles, and is Foles going to have the same connection with Chark as Minshew did? Probably not.
Yeah, in any league that I own Chark, I also went ahead and grabbed Conley because we know that Foles has a history with Conley. They played for the Chiefs together. So I think that's somewhat relevant. They are going into their bye week, so I imagine that they're going to change things up a bit. I think Chark is hands down their best receiver, and I think they know that.
100%.
And I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's currently ranked top 12. I think he's currently 7, and depending on the format. And I don't think he's going to drop too far below 12 this season. I think he's going to continue to be relevant with the targets and the reception. So I mean, if you are in a league and you want Chark, I would go ahead and go for him. Like, I think you can get, this is a buy low opportunity for you.
Yeah.
And Fournette, I wouldn't read too much into this game. The Jags were just out of this game from the very beginning, and it was hard to watch.
Texans D was pretty good today. They were, they weren't giving Fournette too much room anyway. So I think he's going to be solid still moving forward, though.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
There. Yep.
So let's move on to the Chargers and the Packers. This game actually just wrapped up, and to everyone's surprise, the Chargers are charging forward. Melvin Gordon actually had his best game of his season, not career. 20 carries, 2 touchdowns, 80 yards. Eckler is still relevant in this backfield, 12 carries for 70 yards. Mike Williams had a decent game, 3 receptions for 112 yards, no touchdowns for Rivers, so the receivers were all somewhat mediocre, and Keenan Allen continues to struggle.
Yeah, he's not but like 3 receptions in this game, he's not putting up decent numbers. He exploded, week maybe 1 or whatever it was, or 2. But his numbers have just continually went downhill. So I'm not sure if that's just the way that teams are playing him defensively, but kind of a little bit concerning in my eyes right now. Yeah,
I'm a little worried about him. I think that your best move forward with Keenan Allen, if you own him, is you hold steady. And if you don't own him, I think it's a buy low. I mean, Keenan Allen last year was a top 12 wide receiver and is still currently ranked in that range, even though he's been kind of sluggish going forward. So I think you should just target him as he's definitely a buy low, and hopefully better days are ahead for him. I think that's honestly the only thing you can do with Keenan Allen. Either hold steady or try and buy him. I'm not moving him if I own him, and just expect way better days. Go ahead.
No, that's what I was just about to say. I own him in quite a few leagues, and I'm not doing anything with him. I'm keeping him.
Yeah. So Packers, on the Packers side, they looked. I don't know what the fuck happened to him today. Like maybe the Chargers had a good game plan or whatever. Rodgers looked okay. He was saved by a touchdown to Jamal Williams. Everyone else, 11 targets, 7 for 41 for Devontae Adams, which is awesome to see. I don't know why they lost. They're a better team, but the game's over. I wouldn't take too. I would take this as a toss out. That's about it.
What do you mean, man? The Chargers have a kicker. Badby's back, man. He was dynamite today.
He was. He scored a shit ton of points in fantasy. If you owned him,
but
you should be pretty fucking ecstatic.
That's concerning to me too, right? That's where you should be concerned about the Chargers moving forward. I mean, if they can move the ball and they can't get in the end zone, and you're just relying on your kicker to score you those points. I mean, they got the talent. They should be able to find the end zone at least. 2 out of those. He kicked 4 straight field goals. 2 out of those there should have been touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that one. I think that better days are ahead for everyone on the Chargers. I mean, they're 4-5.
Are you cutting paper or something, man?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was fucking playing with a pen, and whenever I'm very fidgety, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're clicking. I was like, I got you.
My bad. I'm just going to put this pen away. That was the last click you'll hear. So we've kind of caught up to our 4 o'clock game, so we're going to give you guys a kind of a quick recap of these two games that are still going on. We'll start with the Tampa Bay and Seattle. They just entered overtime, so we're going to talk about what's happened.
Why don't we touch on Detroit Oakland real quick before that game is finished too?
Oh, did I skip that one?
Yeah.
Sorry. Can you lead that one? I'm sorry. I'm trying to find it.
Yeah. So the Lions blew it. Oakland won this one 31-24. Yeah, everybody in that division in the NFC North, I believe, lost today. So this was a perfect opportunity for Detroit to move up a game. And, yeah, they just blew it. Stafford, put up Stafford numbers, 406 yards, 3 touchdowns. Galladay was a beast, so was Marvin Jones in this one. Both over 100 yards, both scored touchdowns today too. We kind of saw a little bit of, I'm not sure what to take out of this running game because nothing really happened. They had Ty Johnson only rushed the ball 9 times, so he was the leading ball carrier, but it was McKissick was the more
productive back.
Had better stats. Yeah, the more productive back, especially in the passing game, and he did catch a touchdown in this one too. So not sure what you're going to do. Like, what are you going to do with Ty Johnson moving forward?
I think you're going to continue. Last week he outsnapped everybody. Before we move forward on this too much, Trey Carson was put on IR.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why we're not talking about him right now. Paul Perkins was elevated to the active roster. So I think you're going to continue to work with Ty Johnson. He's still we're going to see what the snap count is going forward, or this week. We don't know exactly what it was. I think he's the only guy right now worth starting. Last week, J.D. McKissick didn't do jack shit.
And I did hear Jay Ajayi tried out for them on Friday, or came to try out for them. Have you heard anything else about that?
No. I went. Everyone that I know went and grabbed him, and he didn't sign. It was the second time he tried out, and he left without signing to the team. So right now, I think they're going to move forward as if he's not around. I think we should as well. If you are in a deep league and you can afford to stash him, I think Jay Ajayi is worth a stash. But where he's going to play, nobody knows because he's tried out for 3 or 4 teams at this point and still has not signed. So something is awry with him.
Not right. Yeah, exactly. And then on the Oakland... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to lead, but go ahead.
Oh, no, you lead.
All right. Here you go, guys. Derek Carr led the Detroit Lions to a victory. Josh Jacobs was driven to the ground with 28 carries and 120 yards. The Raiders elevated to 500 with this win, which is nice to see. He had 2 touchdowns. Hunter Renfrow, I think, is the biggest beneficiary right now. He has been pretty good the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's going to make my my waiver wire for sure this week without even checking out stats. I do know that, back-to-back weeks he's had touchdowns, and you continue – he's getting targeted. He was targeted, I believe – he had 6 catches in this one. So
yeah, he was targeted 7 times.
Right now. Okay, so 7 times. And you're starting to see Tyrell Williams kind of take a step back.
You know what I read a stat which was crazy? Tyrell Williams – going into this game, only had 10 receptions so far, and he was completely built off touchdowns. So I didn't realize how little he has caught the ball, and you're kind of seeing like that. You're kind of seeing that come to fruition. If he doesn't catch a touchdown, he's useless. 3 for 48. So I think right now, Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller are the only pass catchers in this offense that are really
Waller.
Fuck me, right? God damn it. Yeah, so that's the biggest. Hunter Renfrow is going to make a waiver wire column. I don't think Tyrell Williams is worth even a roster spot in dynasty formats. He might catch a touchdown here and there, but beyond bye weeks, I don't think he's worth holding on to.
Yeah, and Josh Jacobs, this is basically 3 out of 4 games that he's had over 120 yards rushing. So this kid's legit. He's a RB1, and
yeah,
I think he'll finish as a top 10 running back if this continues.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't disagree with you on that one at all. Yeah, so let's move on to the Broncos and the Browns. The Broncos are curling the lead. They had the ball with 2 minutes left. This guy, Allen, looks pretty decent. 12 for 20, 2 touchdowns. If they win this game, I imagine he's going to hold on to his job. I know Drew Lock is coming back possibly next week. I think that as long as he's winning, I think they're going to continue rolling this Allen kid out.
Well, and it shows you that that rookie or whatever, even if is he a rookie? No, he's been in the league a little while, right?
Oh no, you're right. He has been in the league. The other guy's a rookie.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it just shows you that a guy that takes over the job, comes in for his first start, relies heavily on his tight end. So I mean, Noah Fant, 3 catches, 115 yards, touchdown. That was his best game of his young career so far. And you can pretty much, Cortland Sutton's the man in this offense. I think he's always most targeted and productive every single game.
Yeah, what was interesting to see, if this guy continues to start going forward, it looks like Devontae Parker was the only... They only targeted running backs twice this game, which is kind of crazy. Devontae Booker had 1 target and Royce Freeman had 1. Philip Lindsay was saved by the touchdown. This game just wrapped up. And I think that if he continues to start, and this is their game plan going forward, I think that's kind of worrisome if you're a Philip Lindsay, Royce Freeman. They make their money, catching the ball, and if they are changing their offense to fit this guy's scheme, that's really worrisome.
Lindsay had a decent game. I mean, he had a 40-yard run, did go 9 carries for 92 yards, and that score. So
yeah,
that saved his day.
Exactly.
But yeah, like you said, you're starting to see Booker stepping in there. He was targeted once in this one. Yeah, you just got to see how this is moving forward and how this plays out.
Yeah, I think it was nice to see on the Cleveland side, Odell Beckham kind of get involved. He had six targets for 87 yards. Yeah, I think this is a throwaway game for Chubb. I think he had 20 carries for 65 yards. We're going to see how this progresses. I think Chubb is going to have a sluggish end of season. I don't know if that's too crazy or too bold to say, but he has gotten a lot of carries up until now. They already had their bye week, but he is not what he was to begin the season.
Well, I don't think this team's in it anymore, to be honest with you. I think they've a lot of them are just there to play the year out. You know what I mean? They're not going anywhere. This team is just I don't know, something's going on in that locker room. I think we're going to hear probably something out of it probably by this week with this loss and everything like that.
Yeah.
You could see the frustration on the field and everything like that. So.
Yeah, I think this Kitchens guy should get fired because he sucks balls. Wait, that was rude. I should bleep that. Damn, I shouldn't have said that. So let's. I think the only guy that's actually you're worth trusting in the Broncos side is Cortland Sutton, and the only guy I think that you can really trust week in and week out is Chubb. You own Odell Beckham, you own Landry. You kind of have to start those two guys, but.
Yep.
I don't think your expectations.
Landry did get in the end zone in this one, right? He had six receptions for 50 yards. So.
Yeah, I mean, you own those guys. You feel
stat.
obligated to start them, but I don't think you can necessarily trust them. They're nothing more than what wide receiver. I mean, it's kind of crazy to say. Odell Beckham's a wide receiver 3, and Landry is flex worthy, if that. I mean, Landry is more productive than Odell Beckham at this point, so. I think it's just crazy to say out loud.
Yeah.
Considering he's the most talented wide receiver, I think, maybe ever. So, maybe not ever. I think that's a little too bold, but he's pretty fucking good.
He is good.
So, let's move on to the Buccaneers. This game just wrapped. The Buccaneers lost. They had this game in the bag, start the game, but they've kind of fallen off, and they lost. This was the coming out party for Ronald Jones. 18 carries for 67 yards. He out-carried Peyton Barber by a shit ton.
Finally.
Yeah, and he got the touchdown. Mike Evans, another fantastic game, which is, really good to see.
16 targets in this one.
Yeah, no, that's great to see. I'm glad they're giving him the ball. I mean, they were relevant in this game. And as long as they continue throwing him the ball, they're going to be in games. He's their best receiver. Keep doing that, guys.
Yeah, and I think moving forward, I think that's going to be their game plan. I think and if you own any of these guys, especially in fantasy, they're Winston, Evans, Godwin. They're all relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, stats of Winston 335, 2 touchdowns. going to put up good fantasy numbers,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And the Seahawks are a good defense overall, and Ronald Jones was relevant in this game. So I think that if they continue to feed him the rock, as they should, because they are a losing team and he's their young running back, he needs to get work. I think Ronald Jones can be an RB2 going forward. I know I'm a little crazy on Ronald Jones. I think he's going to be good. They just need to give him the fucking ball.
I want to see it again. I want to see him get another game with double-digit carries.
Yeah, over Barber.
Yeah.
He's had double-digit carries. He just hasn't out-carried Barber enough. So on the Seahawks side, Chris Carson continues to carry the load and be great. Tyler Lockett had a huge game. Russell Wilson had a huge game as well. I think
5
it's going to be
touchdowns.
Yeah, he looked good. I think it's going to be interesting to see how this offense morphs with Josh Gordon joining the team, which we didn't know earlier in the game. So, I mean, DK Metcalf had 6 receptions for 123 yards and a touchdown. Who do you think is going to take the biggest hit from everyone in this offense when Gordon returns or starts?
I think Metcalf will slightly take a step back, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, because I think Lockett has his role already. That's just what he's going to be. And Metcalf is just, it's week to week with him, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't have an exact role yet. He's still trying to carve that out. I mean, he's been great, but I just think getting a guy like Josh Gordon, I think he's going to be Metcalf's going to take a step back, and then also now you got to look out for this tight end Hollister.
Yeah.
He scored a couple touchdowns. He's the one that won it in OT for them. But Jacob Hollister, that's 2 weeks in a row that he's been targeted. First 2 touchdowns was in this one. So with the loss of Disley, I think obviously Hollister is the guy, the tight end to own on this offense.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he might make a waiver wire call him, see how this progresses. But he's definitely, they clearly want to feature a tight end in this offense. So maybe Hollister might be the guy over there that's worth grabbing.
Yep.
I think that's going to do it. I think I'm going to place a waiver ad for Hollister in my SFB league. Like, that's not bad. Those numbers are true, and they want to feature him. So we'll see what happens.
Do it.
All right, that's going to do it for us. That wasn't too bad. We kind of cruised right through that. Thanks, Clayton.
All right, buddy.
Have a good one. Good night, everyone.
You too. Peace.
Yeah. Eat, sleep, fantasy, you rockin' with the best. NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. We talking mock drafts, running backs, better follow the conversation with
John,
Dale, Christian, and Armando. Screaming Eat Nation, we doing what we like. Tune in every week, guarantee we get it hype. Fantasy football enthusiasts, I know you plan to be joining us on Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Yeah, Eat, Sleep, Fantasy. Eat, Sleep, Fantasy.